Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Tyler Merkovich. That's Emery Hunt, the Zarda Playbook. Thursday night football action. Big East heavyweight clash. Two 5-0 squads. The Cincinnati Bearcats at the South Florida Bulls. Can it get any better? I love this matchup here. This can determine the winner of the Big East. And you can't say enough of Brian Kelly, the job he's done. All these defensive starters gone, but they bring in the maturity on defense, and their defense is playing well. 11 interceptions from that secondary, and Tony Pike is one of the most improved quarterbacks over the last 2 years. He's great. What are your keys to victory for the Cats?
Well, keys to victory for Cincinnati are simple. Offensive balance will lead you to victory. So don't get heavy-handed in the passing game. You want to balance it out with the run to the pass. Keep these guys off balance. That's why you slow down that pressure by having balance. So that's key to victory number one. Two, you have to keep an eye on Selvey and company because those guys are coming with 13 sacks. They've sacked the opposing quarterback. So you have to protect Tony Pike up front and keep an eye across that defensive line because every one of those guys can get after the quarterback. And to say Cincinnati, you mentioned Brian Kelly, that's a true testament of recruiting. When you recruit, you're always supposed to be prepared for the next season. So that's why they're doing well. They recruit well. They always have depth in Cincinnati.
And you mentioned the running game. Both top running backs averaging over 5 yards per carry, Isaiah Pete and Jacob Ramsey. And we thought their strength would be wide receiver. Marshawn Gilliard, one of the best in the nation, along with Armand Binns and a couple other guys. I mentioned their secondary has 11 interceptions. But South Florida, you mentioned the defensive line. George Selvey on one end, and you have Jason Pierre-Paul. He could play inside, he could play outside. That guy is just as good as Selvey. This defense is really bringing it. B.J. Daniels takes over for Matt Grothe, and when that happens, you expect a drop-off, a fall-off from the offense. But they didn't drop a beat here. He's playing great, connecting with the wide receivers, Carlton Mitchell and Bogan. What are your keys to victory for Jim Leavitt?
Keys to victory for the South Florida Bulls. They're going to have to take away Cincinnati's top two running backs, which you mentioned, Jacob Ramsey and Isaiah Pete. Take those guys away, make Cincinnati one-dimensional, and that will give yourself a shot because you have some good matchup opportunities with your athletes at cornerback and safety and their wide receivers. That's going to be a good matchup to watch. But in order to get that matchup, you have to take away that running game because if they have balance, they can mop the floor with South Florida. Two, B.J. Daniels is going to have to play some big-time ball this week. If you look at the totality of their schedule, they've played a lot of cupcakes. They've only played one serious contender, which was Florida State, and that is looking like, that could have been like a softie as well, too. But so I have to wonder if B.J. Daniels is ready for the bright lights and up this big game. This is a huge game. Cincinnati's 8th in the country. This is not Florida State. This is not Charleston Southern. This is the 8th team in the country. Can he get it together? He's going to have to play big-time ball. I like Cincinnati on the road.
You mentioned the Bulls' soft schedule. What about Cincinnati's?
They beat Rutgers. They beat Rutgers, and they also beat. Give me their schedule.
Fresno.
They beat Fresno. Fresno's a tough team. They can run the football.
They had trouble in that game.
And
That's why I like the Bulls.
They also beat Oregon State.
That's why I like the Bulls. B.J. Daniels is coming out. Moyes playing for Mike Ford. Get the running game open. It'll open up. But keep an eye on that defense. I mentioned the two defensive linemen. I love Nate Allen at safety. Keon Wilson at linebacker. Jim Leavitt. The crowd is going to be going nuts down there in Tampa. I'm taking South Florida here.
You're pinning your hopes on a lot of stuff that you haven't seen yet. I've seen Cincinnati beat Rutgers. I've seen them beat Oregon State, who knocked off a good Stanford team.
I've seen B.J. Daniels work it. He's going to get it going. I'm telling you now.
I can't wait to see
this. This is the lunch game of the week right here.
This is the 8th team in the country.
This is the lunch game of the week. You will be buying me lunch after the Bulls win on Monday. For more, visit footballgameplan.com/NCAA.